From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. With Joseph Biden ready to send out multiple stimulus checks in the fourth stimulus recon, the Build Back Better Act. I have the latest details in today's recording. The incredible great news about all these incredible checks is that there's a lot of them. At least $15,000 of checks before we get to those MSC's IRS stimulus checks. I have the latest details in today's brand new breaking news report, direct from Santa Monica, California, taped today. In today's recording, we go over the incredible money in this incredible recon and why you should be excited across the board for all these incredible checks, and to why you should get that pen and paper ready to go over each of those checks one at a time with me so you are ready to bounce as a Purple Hawk. We're going to go over each of these incredible checks and brand news from Bernie Sanders about how to get this done. It's brand new today on a big afternoon's recording. We're going to go over the incredible recon that passed in the House and will pass in the Senate, says the President of the United States in new comments. Then we'll be turning to the incredible COLA raise of 5.9% that's coming now this month, what you need to know about that as well. We'll be turning to the incredible details of third stimulus, which is repeated in fourth stimulus, but no time or place to wait for it because you can get it right now. We'll be turning to then the big checks in this incredible recon, each of those checks one at a time. And then we'll be turning to the exciting details of student loan debt forgiveness, the offer on the table, and what you need to know as well. But as we go into a big afternoon's recording, we have great news from Bernie Sanders, who says that something they did this week for the Democrats was different. It was something he has called for a long time. It's something you've called for a long time, and he says it works. What is it? It's coming up in this video. Plus, the big money, lots of checks. Stay to the very end. We have a lot of money. We have a lot of money you can get today across the board. The excitement starts right here, direct from Santa Monica, California, with a brand new recording. And the excitement starts right here, right now. The only thing I'm worried about is the wind outside. Hopefully I don't blow away during the recording. And this is Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. And here we are, our Afternoons LA, direct from Santa Monica, California, for you today with incredible details of the fourth stimulus recon, aka the Build Back Better Act, and the checks that Joseph Biden, your president of the United States, wants to send out right away with Senate changes on top of that. I'll go over the latest details of what you need to know and how this is true deliciousness. It's better than butter. It's better than bacon. We're going to go over the incredible programs in this fourth stimulus recon, at least $15,000 of checks. Then third stimulus added on top of that, at least $45,000 on top of that. Then we'll be turning to the incredible details of how they look so good in those sunglasses. How do they look so good in those sunglasses? Where do you get those sunglasses? No, we'll be going to student loan debt forgiveness. They look like a happy couple, aren't they? Then we'll be turning to the great news of that fifth stimulus, 5.9% COLA raise. Now they're not looking at each other. Once I mentioned that, they're not looking at each other. Maybe they aren't dating. Maybe they're just staged. But they walk really hand in hand. Really well. We'll be going over the other incredible great details of what is in this recon. Those details and more as you have joined me now with Afternoons LA, part of the incredible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of brand new programming across this channel. And this, my friends, is the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America, LALATE. I want you to subscribe. And thank you for all the incredible, massive subscriber growth in the last few days. Hit that subscribe button right now. You're watching the number 3 most broadcast, most watched financial news channel in America in both print, cable, broadcast, and internet. It's LALATE. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video to 3,000 likes and consider becoming a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP so you get the incredible newsletter that goes out Monday through Friday via the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. Meantime, sign up for the LALATE alerts also under the video's description so you get those incredible emails and incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. As we go into a big, bold, beautiful afternoon's LALATE, it's important to know that the recon will become a law, says the President of the United States. His comments in just a minute. With 3 classes of checks and 3 add-ons that amount to at least $15,000. Let's go over each of those classes of checks. Get your pen and paper ready. We call this the 2022 update, but these provisions were written in 2021 and they're staying in there so far. They could be added to in a second, and that's coming up in just a moment. Let's go over cluster number 1, hazard pay, and $4,000 of elder care. Got it in there. The hazard pay is the earned income tax credit for 1 more year for essential workers. It was established and broadened in 3rd stimulus. Want to learn about it? Go to iris.gov. $4,000 of elder care, brand new in 4th stimulus recon. $4,000 of care for young children. The CTC, $3,600. For low-income families, if you got it under 3rd stimulus, it will be continued under 4th stimulus. Brand new in 4th stimulus is money to repair your home if you live in a low-income community. Brand new is $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. This is money given to the seller, the dealership, at the time of purchase. So this is not a refund check. This is actually at the dealership, meaning if the price tag is, let's say, $30,000, it's $30,000 minus $12,500. Then they got in there lots of other things like the $550 check for the Pell Grant recipients across the board. The first add-on of checks comes from the illustrious Maxine Water. She got it in there and she wanted to give you to you. This is money to buy your first home. You're hearing me right. So while their sunglasses sort of don't match, but they walk really hand in hand, if this is a couple, they can go buy their first home. If they're not a couple, they can buy separate homes. And they could be in the same cul-de-sac, and we'll call it Knots Landing. I mean, that's how we rock and roll, don't we? They just look like it's Knots Landing, don't they? They just look like they are extras from Knots Landing. Remember that great show, The End of the Cul-de-Sac? So if you live at the end of the cul-de-sac, or you want to live at the end of the cul-de-sac, $25,000 proposed, but it's a little bit less. And they got it in there on the house side to buy your first home across the board. The first add-on, the second cluster of checks gets even better. Let's turn to that second cluster of checks right now. And that second cluster of checks starts with the paid leave and also the incredible home repairs. Now, the paid leave is $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $35,000 or more per year, then you would get $800 a week. If you make $15,000 or more per year, it's $400 a week. What is paid leave? You have to stay home because you're sick or illness or something like that. Now, if you don't work, but your son or daughter does work and they have to take you to the doctor for an appointment once a week, then they get the check. That's how it works. All eligibility, I haven't covered that in a couple of weeks. It is all eligibility. W-2, 1099, you all get it. All income levels as well. You just saw that details. So how many weeks? Up to 4 weeks per year. And wow, it is incredible. Then they got the home repairs in there as well. These are different home repairs. These are to weatherize your home because you know it's January, and January is that month of all those holidays in Kentucky. A lobster fest, lobster shorts, a lobster sandals, a lobster galoshes, and lobster earmuffs. There's a national holiday for lobster every single day. Well, not in the entire state of Kentucky, just in the senator's office. So now you can weatherize your home so you're prepared for lobster holidays. Let's go to the second add-on of checks. Comes from the illustrious Bob Casey out of Pennsylvania. He got that provision in there, and what is it? It is money for free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities who are on Medicare. This is huge. This is a Joe Biden campaign promise. They got it in there. $250 billion, just a little bit less, but boy, is that wonderful. Thank you, Bob Casey, for that incredible add-on. Let's go to the third cluster checks. Here we go, folks. You're ready? Seniors are free internet. Here is where we find it true deliciousness. In this third cluster, we have free school meals for all checks. Then we have the checks for the farmers, the checks for the independent contractors. We have the cheaper medication. We have the Pell Grant. We have also the incredible benefits for the seniors, 2 provisions across the board. These aren't checks, but provisions, covered benefits. The first 2 were added on the House side, and they are the Medicaid gap fix, more about that in a second, and the hearing aids. Then the Senate is about to add three other provisions, lowering the eligibility of Medicare from 65 to 55, it's low as that, and then dental vision as well, which is par for the course. You see two provisions added on the House, but three waiting to be added on the Senate. That's what we're talking when we talk about also MSE, monthly IRS stimulus check. Why? Because there's a body of legislation passed in the House that ain't finished on the Senate. More about that second. But first, let's go over what is an MSE, who gets it, what is the eligibility, how much does it pay, and when would it become law? Let's go over all those incredible details starting right now. First, let's go over what is an MSE. There are multiple stimulus checks in this for stimulus recon, the Build Back Better Act. We've already gone over a lot of them. So I don't want to confuse you with those multiple checks. That's why we refer to this program as MSE, multiple IRS stimulus checks. The key word is IRS. This is a program in which checks are sent out by IRS to you across the board. So who gets it? Let's go over eligibility. The legislators since the month of May have said it would be the same eligibility as a third stimulus check. So if you forgot who got the third, let's go over the details of that right now. Single individual, $75,000 or less annual income, got it and would get the fourth. Married couple, $150,000 or less, would get it, double it. If you're on benefits, SSI, Ssdi, Social Security Railroad benefits, you would get it as well. Adult dependents would get it additionally. And up to a family of four would get it, quadruple it. Let's go over some of the nuances. First, is it income? It's not income, so it ain't taxable. Number two, it's offered nationwide and it's paid by the federal government. So if you have a state legislator or governor you don't like, don't worry. They can't interfere. This is money sent out from the federal government to you, sent out by IRS. All right, now let's go over the amount. The amount, these legislators since the month of May has said it would be $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months across the board. Which then brings us to the question of how, and also the issue of advocacy. The issue of how is very complicated for a lot of viewers, but this is why this channel exists. How do they get it done? The body of legislation passed in the House in the month of November was called the Build Back Better Act, sent to the Senate. It's called the Build Back Better Act, and it's passed by the House. But the way legislation becomes law is it has to be passed by both the House, the Senate, and signed by the President of law. The senators are different people than House members. They get a body of legislation from the House in the Senate, and then they start to modify it. And they modify it till it becomes their baby. Well, the senators didn't modify it yet. Why not yet? Because there's a lot of very complicated, very confusing things I can't go over too much on this channel because it would take too long, in which there's caused a pause on the modification on the Senate side. Now, let's understand. The senators said they have a lot of modifications to happen. And those senators are Ron Wyden, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and even Chuck Schumer, the majority leader of the Senate. What does this look like? It looks like the Monaco Grand Prix. You're in a car race along the streets of Monaco. And then suddenly the announcer goes on air and says, pull over to the side of the road. Why? The race is halted. Does not mean the race is canceled. Does not mean you're going reverse. Does not mean we're over the finish line. The race is put on pause. Because it's put on pause, they never got to that event to modify the legislation. When they do, then the announcer will go on air and say, start your engines. At that point, the body of legislation goes to the modification phase. Now, let's pause for a second before we get to that. Understand right now, as we sit here right now, there is no bill in the Senate. Yeah, there was a bill in the House. It doesn't mean anything for the purpose of the Senate. They have to do their version of the bill. So, if you're at the water cooler on a Monday and someone says, it's not in there, the response to that person is, what's there? There is no bill. They never got to the bill on the Senate side. Well, they passed the House. No. The senators do their own bill. They haven't done their own bill yet. Well, that's where we are right now. Let's go back to that announcer going on air saying, hey, start your engines. At that point, when they say start your engines, we're going into those Senate subcommittees. And the Senate subcommittees is where they start to modify the legislation, like the Budget Committee, chaired by Bernie Sanders. That's when they start to add things in there. Provisions that you heard on this recording that are at issue, they want to add in there. They're likely not to remove anything that was already passed by the House. That's why those recordings that say 2021 for stimulus update, they're very important because those provisions, which I'm going to get to later in this video, stay with me, which is a lot of checks, upwards of $60,000 of checks. Those provisions will likely go to the finish line. So stay with me because you need to now know what they are and pounce as a purple hawk. The provisions that would be added in there, of course, are brand new. Those are 2022 provisions. Then, when they call that for a vote on the Senate floor, it's passed on the Senate floor. It is done on the Senate floor, not passed. Then it goes to vote-a-rama 2 days in which they make modifications across the board. That is how we rock and roll. Now, here's why it's important for you to advocate. It's important for you to advocate across the board because guess what? There is a lot of legislation that needs to get modified. And that modification includes everything that they have wanted to do across the board. And if they have stuff they want to do, you need to tell them what you want them to do as well. And that's why it's important for you to pick up the phone and advocate for inclusion provisions. Who do you advocate to? First, let's go over the details of that right now. You want to advocate to a series of legislators who have been watching your back since day one. And these are legislators who say they want to add provisions to this incredible recon. Who are those legislators? They are Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. How is advocacy different in the month of January? Because it's different in the month of January because we don't have a vote on the legislation tomorrow or to the day after. But they need to know that you still need it. Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. These are legislators you want to pick up the phone and advocate to. Now let's go over what this advocacy looks like. You need to tell them why you need something. And when you're telling them what you need, pick up the phone and speak to the staffer. If you remember the name of the staffer you spoke to last time, speak to that staffer again. Because guess what? I bet your story of why you need it is different today than it was in September, perhaps, when you called. And whatever you want to add or advocate for, say it. Maybe it's the home assistance. Maybe it's the lifetime benefits. Maybe it is the fifth stimulus. Maybe it is the MSE. Whatever you want to advocate for, advocate. Now, do not call up and ask, is it in there? Because as we already said, we don't have a body of law yet. We don't have a bill yet. And for them to say, for you to ask, is it in there? The answer is there is no there yet. So don't be asking that across the board. Next, value your contribution because this is the biggest place for advocacy in the United States. This channel has delivered 9 million phone calls of advocacy to those legislators since the month of May. And we are the biggest place of advocacy, dwarfing the American petition threefold, with more phone calls, more substantive, more details than anywhere place in the United States. In the second half of this video, I'm going to give you an opportunity, and I want to see sort of your response, and I'm going to see it throughout the live shows today, of what you think about this potential idea. It's just an idea of how to advocate for an MSC, or at least one stimulus check, and another body of legislation. Based upon how we did this last year, it worked. Could it work again? It's only something you would ever see on this channel. It's only something that this channel would ever envision. And we did it before. And we won before. Could we do it again? It's coming up after the commercial break. Plus, we have new comments from Bernie Sanders about why the voting this week was so great. Is he on point or is he off point? All the latest details. It's huge across the board. Then we'll be turning to the big provisions that are in this fourth stimulus recon. We're going to go over a little bit more about that MSC. We're going to go over the big checks that are in this recon, but no time or place to wait for you. You can get them right now under third stimulus. We're going to go over each of these checks that amount to $15,000. Student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus what you need to know about fifth stimulus. It's coming up in the second half of this video. We got a big second half, a lot of breaking news, even on a weekend. Even in a new week. All those details and more coming up in the second half. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as Afternoons LA continues from Santa Monica. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. and then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now, direct from Santa Monica, California, on a big afternoon's LA, with a potential which I'm going to propose to you about putting a stimulus check in a provision of another body of law that goes to a vote in just a few days. Should we do it? I'll go over the proposal and I'll look for your response in the live chat. Then the Senate changes and why that recon will go bigger and bolder. Then the comments from Bernie Sanders new today that says why that recon got a new push overnight. It's exciting, and I'm going to go over the latest details in today's recording. The big money on the third stimulus and why you can get more money about that as well. Student loan debt forgiveness, what you need to know about that as well. This stimulus and all the incredible details of that COLA raise of 5.9% is coming up in the second half of this video. Plus, we'll learn how do you tiptoe on the beach so carefully like this couple. They just sort of tiptoeing in. Who taught them that? Was that Crayola? Those details and more as we go into the second half of this video, as we tiptoe into the second half of Afternoons LA. But first, I want you, part of this incredible family, hit that subscribe button. Go under this video right now and hit that subscribe button. Be part of the LA Alerts and subscribe. What are you watching? You are watching LALATE, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America, among both broadcast TV, cable TV, and internet TV. Number 3 in the United States, on its way to heading to number 2. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. And with that, don't forget to advocate to those incredible legislators, Casey Coons, Warren Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over the real surprising details of a potential to really advocate for inclusion of the stimulus check into something other than the Build Back Better Act. What is it? It starts right now. Back in December 2020, I came up with an idea that a lot of people thought was ridiculous outside this channel, putting a stimulus check in a spending bill to run the federal government. In December 2020, you and I were just barely exhausted from Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin negotiating on the second stimulus package and not getting it done. So I said, we can't keep on doing this. I came up with the idea of putting out a stimulus check in a continuing resolution bill, and the continuing resolution bill, of course, is a bill done regularly to fund the federal government. How does the government run? How does it operate? What is the money for the federal government? It is a bill that concerns funding of the federal government, doesn't concern funding of the American people. People looked at me and said, who is this crazy person from Southern California who puts a stimulus check for the American people in a provision for the federal government? I said, you know what? I've dealt with this federal government for long enough, and I've dealt with this federal government for over a year with this channel. And viewers know that often these legislators put stuff into bills that don't belong in there. Whether it was a COVID relief bill that had money for foreign governments in there, or a COVID relief bill that had money for the Department of Copyrights, doesn't belong in there, and they do it all the time. Came up with the idea. I said, what do you like about the idea? Do you like it? Viewers loved it. And we pushed. And initially they said no. The legislators said no. Then we pushed again. And then they came back and said, you know what? I really like this. Let's put the extension of unemployment benefits in there. We said, that's nice, but that's not what we're asking for. That's another type of stimulus. We're asking for an actual stimulus check in the CR. And we called it #CR for stimulus. And that was in December 2020. Ultimately, it got in there, then it got removed, and then we pushed back and it got in there. That became history. This channel, my idea, and your support of the Purple Power pushing on social media got the American people a $600 stimulus check in the CR of December 2020. Can we do it again? Here's the proposal. If you want to do it again, jump on the live chat throughout today's videos and send me a private message on social media. Say, yeah, I want to do it again. CR for stimulus 2022? Let's do it if you think we should. What's at issue? Coming up in just a few days is a new CR. Chuck Schumer has said that the Build Back Better Act will be going for a vote, but more importantly, with the days of January passing and in February around the corner, what is coming up first? On February 18th, a government funding deadline will loom. Well, that means they got to do another CR. That means February 18th is when they got to do another CR. That means we could put a stimulus check in the CR again. CR for stimulus 2022. Should we do it? Jump in the live chat, send me a private message, go on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, tag me with hashtag CR, like Charles Robert, CR, stimulus for CR for stimulus, and tell me whether you want to do it or not, and we can make the push. It would not likely be a monthly stimulus check because that's too robust for a CR, but it could be at least one stimulus check. And that could bridge us until they get the Build Back Better Act done. CR for stimulus, maybe a $2,000 stimulus check in there, put it in there by February 18th, get it out by mid to late February. Then we would come back and wait for the reoccurring stimulus checks and all the other provisions when the Build Back Better Act gets done in late January, early February. This may be the relief that millions of Americans want. And again, it's an idea you're hearing for the first time on this channel right today. Send me a private message if you like it. And also post in the live chat. Chuck Schumer, meantime, in new comments today, says that the Build Back Better Act, which of course has all the other checks in there, which we don't need to get them done right this moment if we got a CR for stimulus done, and that would bridge us for, an extra 2 or 3 weeks while we get the bigger spending bill done. Schumer says that the forced stimulus recon, aka the Build Back Better Act, will go to a Senate floor vote in the next few days. Now, Senator Chris Coons says he believes it's going to get done. Bernie Sanders had new comments going into this weekend, and what did he say? He says he loves what happened this week. Interesting. What happened this week? On Wednesday and Thursday, they called a vote on the Voting Rights Initiative. It failed. And they called a vote on changing the Senate rules. It failed. But as you and I have noticed, advocated for, and talked about in the last year, calling the vote is often a really good idea, even if it fails, because ultimately, you know who voted against it. Ultimately, you just call the vote, as we often say in the live chat, just call the vote. If it fails, then we do it again. We fix it. And Bernie Sanders said this throughout the late 2021 weeks. Just call the vote. If Ssdi and Manchin want to vote against it, just call the vote. We see the reaction. And that's what Sanders now says about those two bills going down in flames, the votings and the Senate rules this last week. I've been negotiating with two senators. This is Bernie Sanders talking. I've been negotiating with two senators for 5 months, and it's gotten us nowhere. So we need a new course of action. I think we got to do it now to make it clear where 48 of us stand. He's referring to the 48 other than Ssdi and Manchin, which would bring it to 50. Right now, we're all playing into Republicans' hands by not having them vote against anything. Now, what does that mean? It's really fascinating. When you call the vote, you see the 48 Democrats are voting in favor of it. Then you potentially see Ssdi and Manchin maybe voting against it as Democrats. But you also see the Republicans voting against it. Millions of Americans need money on the table. Millions of Americans need food in the in the kitchen. Millions of Americans need clothing on the kids' shoes and feet. And if you call the vote and Republicans say no, then you have a congressional record that the Republican didn't want to help that American. That's what Sanders is saying. If you don't call the vote, the Republicans can always say, I wasn't against it. You didn't call the vote. I never said I was against it. Sanders wants a direct record that Republicans didn't want to help Americans across the board. Do I like Sanders' idea? I do. But a bigger issue covered in yesterday's recordings, which I want to bring back on air today, is there's a big issue at hand. And the guy at issue, his name is Ron Klain. He's the president's chief of staff. I've been featuring him on this channel sporadically, but not that much, but it was really featured a lot in January 2021. As the chief of the staff of the President of the United States, his job is to run the office of the White House, determine policy, to negotiate with senators, negotiate with House members, speak to both Democrats and also Republicans. And what has he done? A new report released, which I think is very helpful to the equation because he's going to see it. He's going to see my recordings. He's going to see all this. Says he's not doing any of that thing. He says he's absolutely horrible. Now, let me tell you why they think he's horrible. One, and I think there's really three issues. One, prioritizing bodies of legislation. Which one do you do first? Which one do you do second? Number two, isolating people. And number three, isolating himself and the president. Let's go over the first one, Richard. I think is really the most important and the most obvious situation. Prioritizing. We've been talking about this a long time. You come into the White House And day one, what do you talk about? Climate and stamps. We did that on day one in January 2021. Wrong. Very wrong. Why are we talking about climate? Why do we spend all these months talking about climate? If you don't know, by the way, if you don't know, even though there was some climate infrastructure bill, they never got the climate done. The climate's is in the social spending plan, and the reason why a lot of the social spending plan, the Forced Stimulus Recall, the Build Back Better Act, did not pass was because of the climate. The President of the United States went to the climate conference. It was not passed. It's still not passed. So egg on their face? Yeah, egg on their face. The climate hurt the social spending bill because it was polarizing, and the climate never passed. Prioritizing act, wrong. Then they've also not prioritized other things well as, across the board. There was a lot of other economic relief they need to get out, and they didn't take care of it. There was Brian Deasy, who's been featured extensively on this channel, certainly with Sir Lloyd, that wanted to prioritize unborn children and their relief. They're not here yet. They're not, I'm looking around. They haven't been born yet. So why are we prioritizing relief for people who aren't born yet? He was talking about future education for unborn people. Can we just deal with the people that are on planet Earth at the moment? That's really an example of bad prioritizing. Let's prioritize for people who aren't alive yet. Yeah, that's... Next, we're going to prioritize for Casper the Ghost, because, we're prioritizing for ghosts and figments of our imagination first before we prioritize for something that's actually here. Not really good. A little bit, maybe that's what they learned. Let's prioritize with things that are fake, that aren't real yet. Not fake, but things that haven't occurred yet. Then we come to this next two parts, which are probably the most important for the recon itself. Whether the recon is not prioritized or is prioritized, the problem with the recon goes to the core of this. You got senators. They're Democrats. They got personalities. They all got very different personalities. They're from different states. They're from the cities. They're from the country. They're different people. They all got different attitudes. They're different personalities. You got to work around everyone's personality. Not everyone gets along with each other. What is Ron Klain accused of in this new series of articles? He's accused of really pandering to two people and isolating everyone else. Not good. I mean, that's not the job of the chief of staff. The job of the chief of staff is really to be that guy that everyone gets along with. He's just a nice guy. He may not always do what you want to do, but he's always available to be heard. He will listen to you. He will send the message to the president, and he will never make you feel distant, targeted, or unloved. What has Ron Klain done? Exactly the opposite. Ron Klain has now been called basically a Bernie Sanders 2.0, but in a bad way. Bernie Sanders is a very accommodating person. Everyone knows Bernie Sanders is a very loving person. Ron Klain is not being portrayed that way. He is being portrayed as a person who wants to only do one thing and doesn't want to hear from anyone else. And what is he doing? He's, as Pramila Jayapal, the head of the Progressive Caucus in December and November of last year, says she speaks to Ron Wyden every single day. He's wonderful. I talk to him every single day. When asked about for the moderate Democrats, how often can I get Ron Klain on the phone? Never. He will never answer my phone calls. He will never respond back to me. Not good. Not good. I mean, they're from the same political party. They're from the same governing group. If you only answer phone calls from Pramila, but you don't answer phone calls from Chris and Sinema, you only listen and hear from Bernie Sanders, but you also do the reverse. Let's make this clear. You not only don't listen to you don't listen to the moderate Democrats, but you go after them. Not good look. Not a good look. Let's make this very clear. He is the chief of staff to the president of the United States, who's the leader of the Democratic Party. As a leader of the Democratic Party, what do? You do not go after your fellow Democrats. It looks, Nancy Pelosi would teach you this. This is Nancy Pelosi 101. Did you take that class? I featured the class last year. Nancy Pelosi says we are, what was that expression she always used? We are aligned. Yeah, remember when the Blue Dogs went to her to extend the FPUC? Remember when when one group, I can't remember who they were, went to her in 2021, said, let's extend FPUC. She said, we are aligned, we are very good, we all get along. Even if they didn't, she tried to tell you we get along. Ron Klain, he's like, I don't care for you. I don't like you. boy. Is this a Godfather scene? Yeah, I mean, it feels like The Sopranos on the White House. He issues press releases calling Joe Manchin bad, 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 bad. Do you think Joe Manchin's going to get along with you? Keep on doing that? No. And Joe Manchin says, stop it. And what does Ron Klain do? Ramp it up and do it more. Boy, this is not how you lead the government. This is not how you lead the White House. This is not how you lead the toy store down the street. This is not how you operate the gas station. You don't treat your fellow workers that way. Democrats are part of the same, and he is just an absolutely bad leader of a team. He's just not getting the message. He's going after his team members and then pandering to other team members. Not going to work. And it's really going to hurt the recon, because the recon needs people to feel loved and heard among the same Democratic Party. So the last part of the body of legislation, the last part of the article says that he's isolating the president and he's isolating himself. This is also really bad. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, one thing they have in common is they are really, really good at convincing people to do what they want to have done. Donald Trump wanted the tax cuts. He went to Kevin McCarthy, he went to everyone. I want to get these tax cuts done. I want to get it done. Got it done. Joe Biden, one of the best things he has done since he's been in office, and again, Ron Klain didn't send out the message. I would have this framed in a plaque in the White House. Is he got Kristen email on the phone, Joe Biden, got her to agree to the prescription medication, got to agree to the recall. He did that. This is Joe Biden. He's very likable, very interactive type of guy. What is Ron Klain doing? Isolating the president, now not allowing the president to interact with people, and also isolating himself. Ron Klain's isolating himself. All covered in this incredible article. So until Ron Wyden really gets the point, until the White House gets the point, and I think the White House does, more about that in a second, we're going to have an issue. A press conference held by the president this last week said, I want to start getting input from outsiders outside the White House about how to do stuff. Anyone have a jet? Anyone have a go-kart? Put me in the go-kart. Push me out to Washington, D.C. Send me out there, because this is very simple stuff. It should not be so complicated. It should not be so complicated. And it just sort of like, you sort of want to just say, snap out of it. Remember that scene with Cher in Moonstruck? And she, I think, is it Danny Aiello? She snaps and she says, snap out of it. Come on, snap out of it. It's like, come on already. It feels like they're in an alternate universe. I mean, I was hospitalized for 3 weeks. I'm out of it. I snapped out of it. It's like, but they're like foggy. They're foggy. It's a bad climate. Let's go to some provisions in the four stimulus recon. Get your pen and paper ready. We're going to go over each of them. None of them are foggy unless you live in bad climate, and that's still there. They got $72,500 of what you deduct in state and local taxes and that in recon. They got in there. You have $70,500 of what you deduct in state and local taxes on the federal tax return. They got in their cheaper prescription medication, growing it from 20 medications to 30 medications at year 2028. They got in their free job training, because millions of Americans need to get free job training, like a president's chief of staff that may have to get a new job. They got in there the Medicaid gap fix for 12 Republican states, done by the wonderful Raphael Warnock out of Georgia and Joe Manchin, that provide years of subsidized private medical insurance to uninsured low-income people in those 12 Republican states that vowed never to provide it. They got in there the housing assistance. I'll be coming back to that second, because that's a repeat from third stimulus. They got in there the Pell Grant, $550 check for college students. They got in there the nutrition, $65 per month for students when they're not in schools across the board. They got a lot of provisions in there, some of which are brand new, like the household tax credit. Some provisions they're extended, like the earned income tax credit, the hazard pay workers, the child tax credit, the child care, and more. Which brings us then to the incredible provisions of the housing. The housing provisions are absolutely incredible. Two provisions that are new, and the others they're repeating from third stimulus. First, the new ones are to repair the home if you live in a low-income community. The other one that is new as well is the weatherize your home, which brings us to the other provisions from housing. They'll be featured more on the evening's LALATE show tonight. I'm going to cover them briefly right now. They are rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. There's another round you can get right now. That another round you should get right now Viewers got the first round of $45,000, got about $15,000 for the second round by winter of last year. But I want you to get another round. It's featured on the Evenings LALATE show coming up tonight. We have an Evenings LALATE show at 5. We have Evenings Countdown at 6. We have we have home stream stimulus at 7, and then evenings extra at 8 o'clock. Tune into those shows where I go over more about that incredible money. Student loan debt forgiveness is $10,000 offer on the table. The Democrats should take it across the board. What about this stimulus? Your benefits are going up 5.9% this month. If you haven't got your check, it'll be more. It'll be 5.9% more. And that same amount more will be there next month as well. I had a wonderful comment from a viewer saying, I got the COLA raise. Thank you. I understand that. What else can I get? You can get the rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, food, and more. Get that right now. That is money available right now across the board. This stimulus looks to come in and say, you know what, COLA's good, but it's not good enough. We want to raise your benefits up across the board. And that includes bringing you up one time, then applying a new benchmark, removing the asset cap, removing the income cap, and removing the marriage penalty across the board. Meantime, let me go over what else is at issue, some of my commentary, and where do I think things are going across the board as we go into a new week. As we go into a new week, there's a series of new quotes released today about the Build Back Better Act. Those series of new quotes, even released on the weekend, are par for the course of what I told you I was going to do and also not going to do. As the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon, the big checks in that recon across the board, I'm covering the quotes only from the White House. Andrew Bates, the president's chief of staff, the president's spokesperson, says the fourth stimulus recon will become a law. The president wants to send out the money, and the president wants to send out the money as quickly as possible. Guess what? Even today, there's a series of quotes coming out from, and I'm not going to say their names. There's one senator from a particular state in the Midwest. There is another senator from a state in the Northeast, and their comments, and they're Democrats, is that this and that and this and that. I'm not going to run the comments because guess what? It's not their place to to predict or give you predictions of where things are going. It is the president of the United States and his team, Chuck and Nancy. Schumer has vowed that the recon will go to a vote on the Senate floor within the next few days or weeks and will get passed, and then he will work on passing across the board. And that is all that's important at issue. Of course, the issue is, can we get a CR for stimulus added in a check to a government funding bill, which has a deadline of February 18th? Can we get one check into that for now, which will cover us for a few weeks while we wait for the Build Back Better Act to be done? If you like that idea, drop in the comments right now and send me a private message. And that hashtag campaign, if you want it, would be, again, CR for stimulus. C, Charles, R, Ralph, the number 4, stimulus, CR for stimulus. And the only difference is instead of 2020, it's 2022. Meantime, here's a lot of commentary for me to go over for you for the new week going forward. First, financial markets are really in turmoil, and we're watching the corporate earnings really not good at the moment. A lot of banks are having problems. Number 2, Omicron is causing massive inflationary concerns because Omicron is causing people to be out for work. And if you have a job place, if you have a business and 20% or 30% are out for work, it's going to cause the business to be more costly to run. Why? You have to pay overtime for people who are not sick. You have to bring in temp labor. Everything's going to cost more. If it costs more, they have to spend pass that cost over to the consumer most of the time. That is for a loaf of bread, maybe $3 going to $3.20. Some businesses, I'm not going to say who they are, but you may know them if you watch a lot of financial news, have said, and these are Fortune 500 companies, that they won't do that. They will not charge you more for their products. So their profit levels will be less. Their profit margins may be less in this quarter. There's big concern about crypto. Crypto is imploding with many positions down 15%. Crypto winter is upon us. There's concerns about Vladimir Putin invading Russia, which could impact financial markets. It's covered in some of the shows throughout the day. That's coming up as well. But for now, what I want you to look at, and this is something you can do yourself, and you can be your own really great financial analyst, is when you buy your bread or milk or eggs, really specifically those 3 products, if you buy them at the same store, just make a mental note. How much was it last week? How much was the week before? How much is this week? How much is next week? If you see it going up 10 cents every week, that's inflation. Same product, same store, up 10%, up 10 cents, up 5 cents, up 20 cents, that's inflation. That is the best way to gauge inflation, is seeing those price of goods you always buy suddenly moving and still moving. And you'll see that before anything across the board. 7.5% was the inflationary rate released for the month of December 2021 last week. I predicted 8%. I got it right on the money. But the way I can predict this month, and you can as well, is looking at those price of goods. Coming up next is Evenings LALATE at 5 o'clock. Then we have Evenings Countdown at 6 o'clock. Home Stream Stimulus at 7 o'clock and Evenings Extra at 8 o'clock. Then we go into our overnights programming at 9, 10, 11:30 before we go into Sunrise LALATE at 3 and 3:30 before we go into Early Mornings LALATE. And with that, I want you part of this incredible family, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube record. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member to the #3 most watched financial news channel across the country with new programming all throughout the day. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful afternoon, and stay with LA for more.